Kum Lenen Ablat Gemara. It is God's Tog, the day after Yom Kippur. We are on Daf Tzadik Beis Amud Aleph, sort of a collection of discussions between Rambam, Chama, and Rava, and different dinim regarding Bal Chayv and so on. So we are up to now the Tzadik Beis Amud Aleph. I'll tell you in a second. We're up to Amar Rami Bar Chama, about 9 lines from the top of the page. So we're talking about if you sell a property with shibud, in other words, with achrayis, with responsibility, if it gets taken or not responsibility, and so on. Amar Rami Bar Chama, an interesting case. Reuven shemachar soda l'Shimon be'achrayis. So Reuven sold a field to Shimon and took full responsibility. And we already learned that achrayis Torah safer. You don't have to say you're taking full responsibility; it's automatic that you're taking full responsibility. The Reuven, the vendor, tells Shimon that if you lose this property because somebody comes on account to me and says the property was stolen, whatever it is, I'll reimburse you. Now, but the thing is, Shimon bought the property, but he didn't pay for it yet. V'zakav ala b'milvah. He says, I owe you the money, the balance, whatever. I owe you the money, and that's a loan. So it's no longer the money that he owes to Reuven is considered a loan. Then what happened was the mace Reuven died. V'asa bal chayv de Reuven, and one of the lenders of Reuven, who was owed an equivalent amount of money as the money of this field. So let's say the field was $1,000, and he was owed by Reuven $1,000. So Reuven didn't leave any property behind for his children; otherwise, he would go there first. So what does he do naturally? He goes to Shimon to seize that property. Now Shimon doesn't want to lose the property, so Shimon thinks he'll be a chacham. He says to the Baal Chayv, I will give you the $1,000 that Reuven owes you, and you leave me the field. The Kotorev le Shimon, he wanted to take it, seize it from Shimon. And he said to the Baal Chayv, you take money. In fact, we learned a few days ago that a Baal Chayv, you're supposed to pay him with money because he lent money, you pay him back with money. But that's talking about to the borrower himself. Here, the purchaser wants to give money instead. No, this is the din. The din is that the lender cannot take any property from the borrower. He goes to the Shabbatim. So he went to the Shabbatim. But the Shabbatim here didn't want to give back the property, so he gave money. L'chayri did a good thing. He actually lost out. Dinuhu. And what happened now? And then Shimon turns around to the children, to the heirs of Reuven, and says, okay, your father sold me the field with a achrayis. I paid out the $1,000. So I want you to know the money that I owed you, I just paid it to the lender. So I don't owe you the money anymore. I owed you $1,000. I owed your father. But I took that money and I paid off the lender. So therefore, we're all even. That's what he wanted to say. Dinuhu. The din is that he just lost out the $1,000. You know why? The Amli b'nei Reuven, the children will say, look, if our father passes away and the property's behind, we have to pay out the debt because there's a lien on the property directly. But if there's no property behind and all he left behind is metalton the yasmin to the chayv of the father. So therefore, we didn't have to pay the lender. We don't have the chayv. It's only our father's chayv. It's a mitzvah for us to pay, but he can't take anything from us. So we don't have and we had no properties. So when you paid him the $1,000, which we didn't have to pay, you didn't do us any favors. So therefore, where's the $1,000 that you owe out for the field? You gave $1,000 to the lender. Who asked you to? So they said, yeah. The Amlet Reuven Anan Metaltli Shavach Gabach. Our father left Metaltli the Yasbach and the Metaltli the same Namishubid. No, since we have no property, the Baal Chayv of our father couldn't collect from us. And therefore you should not have paid him. You're not doing us any favors. Because our metaltlin, our portable items are not meshubed to the Baal Chayv. And therefore you can't come back and ask for us to reimburse you because we have no properties from our father. So therefore, all our father left us metaltlin. Says the Gemara, and you still owe the debt. Says the Gemara, comes along Rav and says, Rav says, but in a way it's not fair. The guy paid off the loan of the father, so Rav says, if this buyer is clever, so this is what he does. Okay, he says to the children, he says to the same, I owe your father $1,000. I'm going to give you a property So I'm going to give you this property, and this property is to pay the $1,000 I owe your father. And because this property is coming back to you as a result of your father, therefore your father left behind property. You have property. You have to reimburse me for the property I gave the lender. So I'm taking the property right back. What he gives back to the children is a piece of land, and then then takes it right back from them. Because he says the only reason why you got this property is because of your father. No, you're getting this property because I owe your father $1,000. Don't do the debt. I owe your father $1,000, clear my debt, and therefore I'm paying you back a property. So this property that you now received is really your father's, and therefore I could take it back because now your father promised me he'll take care of if I lose the field, and I gave the lender the money for the field. So now you have to give it back. And since you have the money, I'm taking the field. But Rav Nachman, how do you can do that? Like Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ravu, Yisayimim shegavu karka b'chayvus avin. If Yisayimim collected any properties because of the people owed money to their father, so it's considered their father's property. Bal chayv chayziv v'gavizman. Another bal chayv can come and collect from them. When your father died, there was no properties in the estate. All there was money. It doesn't matter because the chayv that was picked up right now came from because of the father, and they got a property. This property is considered their father's property left behind, and therefore another bal chayv can come in and sees that. So Shimon now can say, your father promised me a chrayis for the field for my field, so therefore you have to reimburse me. Okay, that's what he says here. Amar Rabba, Rabba said, it seems that even if the buyer had money, he's allowed to give the property to the children of the Yisraelim. Now we learned before that about Chayiv pays back with money. So why over here can't the children say to the buyer, don't give us a property, give us money? Because we're the lenders, our father was the lender, you owe us money, you have money in the bank. So give us the money. It seems the money, then in all cases they can give property, Rabbi said. The reason is, when do we say that the borrower has to pay with money if it's not to his detriment? Here, if they pay the Yisayimim, if he pays Yisayimim with money, he'll never get it back. So it's his detriment. He's allowed to pay the property in order to get it back. Next case. Amar Rabba says, Rabba, Reuven Shemacha Kolsa Deis of Shimon. Reuven sold all of his fields to Shimon. He sold them all to Shimon, and the same day. Which means that any Baal Chayiv can come and collect from all the properties because they're all available. They're all the same day. If there were two shtaris, then those which are bought on the first day, let's say Shimon bought property on a Monday, and there were still properties left in Reuben, the borrower's reshus, then the Baal Chayiv cannot go to Shimon because there was properties left by Reuben. And then the second shtar that Shimon bought from Reuben, you can go to that shtar because that's the latest one. Here they sold all the properties in one go. In one go to Shimon. The din is the Chazar Shimon Amar Levi. Then Shimon didn't run so one particular property to Levi. Also about Chayiv the Reuben. Now because about Chayiv Reuben, there's nothing left in Reuben's estate. There's nothing to take. So he has to go to the buyer Shimon. The question is, where does he go? He can either go to Shimon or can even go to Levi. You purchase from Shimon. Why can he go to Levi? Shimon bought. So there's a special case. Shimon bought all the properties, and Levi can say, I left you plenty of properties from the Chas Shabbatim. Why come to me? He says as follows, because we can learn more about Kama that if you cause damage and I have to collect the field, I'm entitled to Idius, the best field. We already had this before as well. When it comes to a Kesuva of a woman, it's the Buddhist. Comes to Balchayv, his Bain is the average field. So what happened was that Levi bought the Bainis, the average field, which generally is tied to the Balchayv. Is also about Chayruva. An elders of the Bainis talking about what that he collected a Bainis. So now what happens? Levi took the Bainis field and he left behind by Shimon the Idiot field or the Buddhist field. So the lender could say, I'll go to Shimon, because say, Shimon, look, you bought every single field that Reuven had. So you took over the Shibud from Reuven. I don't want to schlep to Levi to the Bainis. You have idiots. I'm going to take your idiots for you. Because Levi can argue he left plenty of fields by you for me to collect because he took the Bainis. He took the Bainis. So what? He left plenty of fields by you. On the other hand, he can also go to Levi and say, Levi, you took my field. I'm generally supposed to take the bainis. You bought the only bainis that there was. So he has a choice. He can go to either one. Sorry. He bought a banis. Aval Zovni Edis Budia, but if Levi bought the Edis Budias, then the lender is not entitled to go to Levi at all. Why? Because Matzi Amalei, Levi is entitled to say to the Baal Chayv, I specifically bought these properties, the Edis or the Zabudias, which you have no connection to avoid having to pay. Well, yeah, avoid and leave you alone. Ubenis and Benis Namila Amran Elazar Shavi Ben Kavasi. When do we say that the lender is entitled to go to Levi to collect the Benis? If there were no Benis left in Shimon's domain, I was shoving Benis the Kavasi. But if, let's say, there was Shimon had many fields, he had from Reuven, he had an Idias, the Benis, the Budias, and Levi happened to buy one of the Benis, and he cannot go to Levi because Levi again can say, but so I'm like say he I deliberately left some Benis fields by Reuven, so you go to him. And by Shimon and leave me out. Oh, but Abaye says, and nobody argues on Muhammad in this case. So we're talking a few other dinim. Abaye says, what happens if Reuven if Reuven sold a field to Shimon and took full responsibility, but also Baal Chayv the Reuven, and one of the lenders of Reuven came to Shimon to collect the field, and he wants to seize the field from Shimon because Reuven had no other properties available, didn't have any money, so he wanted to go to Shimon to collect the property. Dinahu, the law is the Ozl Reuven umefatzale. Reuven has the right, and he should go and defend Shimon against the Baal Chayv. Come up with some kind of, for example, he can say to the lender, how do I know your star is authentic? Swear that your star is really authentic. Or swear that we didn't pay you and you lost the star and you somehow found it. And the lender cannot say to Reuven, you're no longer involved, I'm not collecting for you, I'm collecting for Shimon, stay out of it. Why? Reuven says, yes, I am involved in this case. The mafkid minay alai hadar. What happens when you take the field from Shimon? You're going to come back to me. So I'm involved. So I have every right to argue. That's what he says. Now, okay, one second. Others say, even if he did not take responsibility, so the field not responsibility, he still has the right to get involved. Why? The lender can say, why should I even engage in a conversation with you? You have nothing to do with you. Even if Shimon loses the field, you don't have to reimburse him. Because I don't want to tell Shimon to have kindness. Why did he buy it without a responsibility? Because he knew there's no problems, and I thought there won't be any problems. So I have therefore, he'll cast the terrible name for me, and therefore I have every right to get involved because this ultimately affects me. If you see this long faces here, faces in all the shiny wonder what's the difference if Reuven is involved or not. Whatever kindness Reuven can have, he could tell Shimon, you say, say that you didn't pay. Say all these kindness. What's the difference? And that takes us another scenarios where there would be a difference if Reuven could get involved or not. For example, if the witnesses were related to Shimon but not related to Reuven, so Shimon cannot bring them the person who's about to lose the field cannot bring them to his cousins, but the Reuven can. Or the other way around, that doesn't work because since all three are involved in the case, if the relatives are relatives to anyone involved in the case, no one else can use them. It doesn't matter if it's involved directly with Shimon or involved with Reuven. It makes no difference. They're involved in the case. So Taisha says the difference would be that Shimon cannot say to the lender, I want you to swear that it wasn't paid. Because Shimon can't force such a shul. You didn't pay it. How do you know? But Reuven, the actual borrower, he can say to Shimon, I paid this. Swear that you didn't. So there are certain shavuos that only Reuven can make and not Shimon. And therefore, and that's why we have that case. Then Taisha gives other scenarios. Let's continue the Gemara. Abaye said, Reuven, if Reuven, the last case, sold the field to Shimon, no responsibility. The Yotzu Aleh Asikin people came around to claim that the field never belonged to Reuven. He sold you someone else's field. And now Shimon obviously can't respond. He doesn't have an answer, and he's about to lose the field. So the question is, can he get out of the Can he get out of the, what do you call it, of this the deal? So actually, before he made a chazaka, he can get out of it. But once he made a chazaka, he cannot change his mind. He said, you bought a pack, or like a what do you call those? Yeah, what's it called when you give these? A present that's totally closed and you have no idea what's inside. It's like a movie pack, whatever it is. So yeah, you bought a bundle that was knots all around it, and you took whatever it is. You took the risk. What's going on here? What's going on here was we're saying that Reuven sold a field to Shimon and did not take any responsibility, and then Shimon finds out that there are people who are complaining, so he wants to get out of the deal. Because if he loses the property, he'll never get reimbursed. So what's the other deal? Rashi learns that he did not pay any money over to this field. He didn't pay any money at all. So therefore, what kind of kinyan is he going to make on this field? Kinyan chazaka. And because he's going to make a kinyan chazaka, so the Gemara wants to know. The Gemara says, if he didn't make the kinyan yet, even though he's talking about it and he moved in, but he didn't make the kinyan chazaka, then he could change his mind. It's not his yet. But once he was koyin it, too bad. It's too late. And we'll come back to Tosfos in a minute. The more asks me, but when do we say that he became the owner, that he made the chazaka? When he walked along the boundary and he did to determine exactly where the field starts and ends. And now, the problem with this, with Rashi, is everyone knows what chazaka is. We had always in Babasa, chazabatu, kinol goder aparat. If you make a lock on the door, or if you put a fence up, or you break part of the fence, you show ownership. What's the Gemara's question? What's a chazaka? The way Rashi learns is you didn't pay over any money. You're using a kinyan chazaka. So we all know what a kinyan chazaka is. What does it mean here? So someone of them shot in Rashi. Not that Rashi means he didn't give money. He gave money, but not as a kinyan, but more as a payment of the product. And therefore, there's a difference if you're making a chazaka before you give money or after you give money. If you're making a chazaka, according to Rashi, before you gave money, and some Shane learns as well, if you make a chazaka before you gave any money, you need a strong chazaka. So you need a no god or parts. But when you gave money, even though it wasn't as a kinyan, but once you gave money, you're showing that exactly, you're going to go ahead with it. So then even a lesser kinyan, just walking on the land, which is where we'll have a Rambam who just walked over to Yisrael, that's how it's kind of Yisrael, is good enough. And Tosfos learned that he actually gave money and so on. But Tosfos learns he actually gave money as a kinyan. But even he gave money as a kinyan, you still have a cooling off period. And the cooling off period ends when you show that you take over ownership. And that's what Gemara is asking. When does that ownership that you end the cooling off period, when does that happen? And that's what the Gemara is talking about here according to Tosfos. Then the Gemara finishes off. Ikidam is another version. I feel about Chayis Nami. Even if he took responsibility, Shimon could wiggle away out of it. You can argue if you take responsibility, what are you getting out of it? If you lose the field, he'll pay you back. I know that you don't want to go through the whole muchiness. You don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of having to do it, a bezin and so on. So the Amalei, he says, Achvi tiva v'shamlach. He says that even you would think all the way around. That even if you took responsibility, so Shimon say, look, you took responsibility, so let me get out of it right now. Why do I have to take away the field and then you pay me back? Take the field back right now. You fight it out with this ma'arer. The Amalei, no. The seller, the vendor can say to him, just because he's making noise doesn't prove anything. Let's a bezin agree with that ma'arid. Take the field away. Show me this document that they took it away from you. And then I'll reimburse you. But until then, just because people making noise, I never promise you to reimburse you. People make noise. It's only when you lose the field. Okay. So that finishes today's Gemara. Tomorrow, Mitchell will continue tomorrow's Gemara. Have a good